Ladies and gentlemen, let me make one thing clear today. Strong women are not difficult. We're not complicated. We're not full of attitude. We simply have standards. We live in a world that praises loud confidence in men, but labels it as attitude in women. When a woman knows what she wants, she's called bossy. When she sets boundaries, she's too much. But guess what? We're not here to fit into someone else's box of comfort. Society has trained people to believe that when a woman walks into a room with her head held high, she's full of herself. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Confidence in a strong woman is not arrogance. It's the result of years spent learning who she is, what she's capable of, and what she refuses to tolerate. It's not about thinking she's better than others. It's about knowing she doesn't have to compete with anyone. When a woman speaks up without hesitation, many label her as too much. She's told to tone it down, to be less loud, to make herself smaller. But why? Because her voice carries power, and power, when it doesn't ask for permission, can feel threatening to those who aren't used to it. A strong woman doesn't ask for space, she takes it, and that alone can shake the ground of fragile egos. Confidence is built, not bought. It's formed through late nights, hard lessons, broken trust, and personal victories that nobody else saw. A strong woman knows the cost of her confidence. She's earned it, and she wears it unapologetically. That's not attitude, that's evidence of growth. Too often, confidence in a woman is seen as a flaw instead of a strength, but that's only because we've been conditioned to believe women should be humble to the point of invisibility. We've been told not to be too proud, too loud, too opinionated. But strength isn't in silence, it's in self-expression. And confidence is the tool that allows a woman to speak without fear. Attitude is reactive. Confidence is intentional. A woman with attitude needs validation. A woman with confidence validates herself. She doesn't need attention, applause, or permission. Her worth doesn't rely on anyone else's acknowledgement. She walks into rooms knowing who she is, not needing to prove anything to anyone. Let's be real, confidence can intimidate. But that's not the woman's problem. It's a reflection of the insecurities it exposes in others. People will always try to shrink what they don't understand, but a strong woman knows better than to shrink for comfort. She knows that her confidence is not a threat, it's a mirror. When a woman makes decisions based on what's right for her, not what's expected, she's called selfish or cold. But confidence empowers her to choose herself without guilt. It allows her to prioritize peace over people pleasing, and that scares those who benefit from her silence. This confidence also shows up in how she handles conflict. She doesn't scream to be heard or tear others down. She speaks directly, calmly, and firmly. She knows that grace and power can coexist, that strength doesn't have to be loud to be respected. That's not an attitude, that's emotional intelligence. So when a woman says no, sets limits, or demands better, understand this. She's not acting out of attitude. She's acting out of alignment with who she truly is, and that in itself is one of the highest forms of confidence. Boundaries are not walls meant to isolate us. They are the invisible lines that protect our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. For a strong woman, setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. She draws lines not to create division, but to preserve her inner peace. The people who respect her boundaries are the ones who truly understand her value, while those who don't are simply showing their lack of respect. Many people view boundaries as barriers, but they're actually bridges to better communication, healthier relationships, and more authentic connections. When we fail to set boundaries, we allow others to cross into our personal space, our time, and our energy without consideration. The result: exhaustion, frustration, and resentment. Boundaries give us the power to control our lives, to say yes when we mean it and no when it's necessary. For a strong woman, boundaries don't stem from fear or selfishness. They come from a place of love for herself. She's learned the hard way that if she doesn't protect her peace, no one else will. She doesn't need to apologize for creating space between herself and toxic behaviors, negative people, or draining situations. She knows that her time, energy, and peace are invaluable, and they deserve to be safeguarded. Some people will try to challenge your boundaries, often because they've never respected anyone's limits before. This is where the real test of strength lies, in standing firm. A woman with healthy boundaries does not bend because others try to guilt her, manipulate her, or make her feel selfish. She knows her worth, and she refuses to sacrifice her mental and emotional health for anyone else's comfort. It's also important to note that boundaries are not about being harsh or unkind. Setting boundaries is about clarity and consistency. A strong woman doesn't need to raise her voice or be cruel to communicate her limits. She's clear, direct, and respectful, and when others don't respect her boundaries, she doesn't hesitate to enforce them. She doesn't second, guess her needs or feel guilty for prioritizing herself. For many women, the fear of rejection or conflict can make it difficult to set boundaries. But true strength is found in overcoming that fear. A woman who sets boundaries isn't afraid to lose connections that aren't healthy. She understands that peace of mind and self-respect are far more valuable than a false sense of acceptance. The right people will respect her boundaries, and the ones who don't weren't meant to stay in her life. Boundaries also create the space for growth. When you allow yourself the freedom to say no, without guilt, you give yourself permission to say yes to the things that truly matter. This is how a woman makes room for the people, experiences, and opportunities that align with her values and goals. Boundaries act as a filter, helping her focus on what's important while filtering out distractions and negativity. The more a woman honors her own boundaries, the more she sets the standard for how others should treat her. She teaches the world that her peace is non-negotiable. And while there will always be those who try to cross those lines, the strongest women are the ones who confidently defend their peace, knowing that they deserve nothing less than respect, love, and understanding. The standards we set for ourselves are a reflection of how we view our own value. A strong woman does not set standards based on what others expect or demand from her. She sets them based on what she knows she deserves. Her standards are not negotiable because they are rooted in her self-worth, which she has spent years cultivating. When she demands respect, kindness, and honesty, it's not a matter of preference, it's a matter of principle. Many people struggle with setting high standards because they fear judgment. But a strong woman knows that her standards aren't about being perfect or asking for too much. They are about honoring who she is and what she stands for. When she demands excellence, it's because she understands that she is worthy of it, and she won't settle for less. She doesn't apologize for expecting the best for herself in every area of life. Setting standards doesn't mean expecting everyone else to meet those same expectations. A strong woman recognizes that her standards are personal and unique to her. While she values respect, she also respects the differences in others. But she will not tolerate being treated as anything less than worthy. If someone cannot meet her standards, she knows it's not a reflection of her, but a reflection of their inability to recognize her value. When we fail to set high standards for ourselves, we allow others to treat us based on their limited perceptions. A woman with high standards does not leave room for misinterpretation. She teaches the world how to treat her by refusing to accept anything less than what she knows she deserves. Her standards are the boundaries she creates for her own peace, and she is never afraid to enforce them. There's a difference between having expectations and having standards. Expectations are often based on hope and assumptions, while standards are grounded in what we are willing to tolerate and what we are not. A strong woman does not tolerate dishonesty, manipulation, or disrespect. She may be kind, but she is firm when it comes to her principles. Her standards are clear, and she does not compromise them for anyone. A woman with high standards is often misunderstood. She may be called demanding, difficult, or too much. But what others fail to realize is that her standards are the result of years of learning and growth. She has worked hard to establish what she wants and needs to thrive, and she has no intention of settling for anything less. Those who cannot respect her standards are not worthy of her time or energy. In every area of life, whether it's relationships, work, or personal goals. A strong woman sets her standards because she knows they will help her achieve the life she desires. She doesn't let fear or self-doubt dictate her choices. She chooses what aligns with her vision for her life, and if something doesn't meet that standard, she lets it go without hesitation. Her standards act as the foundation for her happiness, growth, and success. The beauty of setting high standards is that they act as a mirror to the world. They show others how they should treat her, and they often raise the standards for those around her as well. When a woman holds herself to a high standard, she naturally encourages those around her to elevate their own expectations, creating a ripple effect of self-respect and empowerment. Her standards not only protect her, but can inspire others to live up to theirs as well. Labels are something the world loves to attach to women. From the moment a woman steps into her power, society is quick to place a label on her: bossy, difficult, dramatic, emotional, and the list goes on. These labels are often used as a way to diminish her voice, to box her into something more comfortable, and to silence her impact. But a strong woman knows that these labels don't define who she is. They only define the limited perspectives of those who try to box her in. When a woman sets boundaries or stands up for herself, she's often labeled as too much. She's told that she's too outspoken, too ambitious, or too confident. But these labels are nothing more than a reflection of others' discomfort with her strength. They label her as difficult because they are used to seeing women who are passive or quiet. But a woman who knows her worth is never afraid to disrupt the status quo. Labels come from others' projections, but they don't define us unless we allow them to. A strong woman understands that her worth is not tied to what others think or say about her. She doesn't internalize these labels because they are based on someone else's narrow viewpoint. Her identity is shaped by her values, her experiences, and her inner strength, not by others' limited understanding. It's easy for society to label a woman when she dares to step out of line, when she's not afraid to take up space, and when she challenges the conventional ideas of what a woman should be. But these labels are a form of control, designed to make a woman feel small and to keep her in a box that benefits others. A strong woman sees these labels for what they truly are, attempts to limit her, not define her. A woman who is labeled as too much is simply a woman who refuses to shrink. She is aware of her power and doesn't need anyone's permission to be herself. These labels don't faze her because she's spent too much time learning how to trust herself, to listen to her own voice, and to disregard the opinions of those who don't matter. She doesn't have to prove herself to anyone, and certainly not to those who try to label her. Moreover, these labels are often a reflection of deep-rooted societal biases. A woman who is assertive is called bossy, while a man with the same traits is praised as a leader. A woman who speaks her mind is dismissed as emotional, while a man doing the same is called strong-willed. A strong woman doesn't buy into these double standards. She knows that her power is not dictated by the labels others try to assign her. She chooses to define herself by her actions, her integrity, and her inner strength, not by the boxes society tries to place her in. In every area of life, whether it's career, relationships, or personal growth, a woman with strength refuses to accept labels. She knows they are limiting and don't reflect the full scope of who she is. She's constantly evolving, constantly growing, and constantly challenging the assumptions that others have about her. Labels are outdated, and they don't serve her in the way that personal growth, self-awareness, and self-love do. As a woman grows into her own power, she will face the challenge of being labeled in different ways, but each time she rises above, each time she refuses to let these labels define her, she teaches those around her the true meaning of strength. By simply existing in her truth, she helps others see that women are not one-dimensional. We are complex, multifaceted, and always more than the labels people try to attach to us. A strong woman does not compromise her core values for the comfort of others. She knows that her values are the foundation of who she is, and they are non-negotiable. Whether it's integrity, honesty, loyalty, or kindness, these values guide every decision she makes. She refuses to bend or dilute them, even when faced with situations that might tempt her to do so. Her values are her compass, and she trusts them to navigate the complex landscape of life. In a world where it's easy to conform to others' expectations, a woman with strong values stands firm in her beliefs. She doesn't give in to pressure, whether it's in a professional environment, a personal relationship, or a societal expectation. Her values define her actions, and she understands that living authentically, according to her principles, is the only way to truly live a fulfilling life. There's no compromise in that. When others try to influence or manipulate her to act against her values, a strong woman does not hesitate to stand her ground. She's not afraid of disappointing others if it means staying true to herself. She recognizes that compromising her values for the sake of approval or convenience would only lead to betrayal, and she values her self-respect too much to allow that to happen. A woman with strong core values doesn't need to explain herself or justify her choices. Her decisions speak for themselves. People may not always understand why she makes certain choices, but she doesn't require their understanding to move forward. Her values are her own, and she knows they are aligned with her truth. She doesn't have to seek validation from anyone because she has already validated herself through her actions. At times, standing firm in her values may cause her to lose opportunities, relationships, or even respect from others. But a strong woman knows that those losses are nothing compared to the internal peace and self-respect she gains by honoring her beliefs. She knows that temporary setbacks or judgments from others are far less significant than the long-term satisfaction of living in alignment with her core values. In a world that often celebrates flexibility and adaptability, a woman with unwavering values is a rare and powerful force. She doesn't change who she is to fit in or to appease others. While she may be flexible in her approach to challenges, she remains steadfast in her principles. She teaches others that true strength isn't in compromise, but in the ability to stand firm and unapologetic in what you believe, no matter the external pressures. Her core values also dictate the relationships she forms. A strong woman does not settle for friendships or romantic partnerships that conflict with her principles. She understands that relationships built on shared values are the most fulfilling and sustainable. She chooses to surround herself with people who respect her beliefs and elevate her growth, knowing that toxic relationships that challenge her values will only hold her back. By not compromising her core values, a strong woman also becomes a role model for others. She inspires those around her to identify and uphold their own values. Through her example, others learn that it is possible to live authentically and unapologetically without compromising who you are. Her strength lies in her unwavering commitment to what she knows is right, and that strength radiates outward, affecting everyone she encounters. A strong woman understands that true strength is not about tearing others down to elevate herself. Instead, she knows that her power grows when she helps others rise. She is the kind of woman who celebrates the success of others, not with envy or jealousy, but with genuine joy. She realizes that there's room for everyone to thrive, and by lifting others, she not only elevates those around her, but also strengthens her own foundation. In a world where competition often feels like the norm, a strong woman chooses collaboration over comparison. She doesn't need to feel threatened by the accomplishments of other women. She knows that every victory, whether hers or someone else's, is a victory for women as a whole. She embraces the idea that when one woman succeeds, all women succeed. This mindset fuels her to support and encourage the women around her, recognizing that lifting others doesn't take away from her own potential. When she sees another woman achieving something great, she doesn't see it as a challenge to her own success. Instead, she sees it as a reminder that greatness is possible for anyone who works hard enough and believes in themselves. A strong woman has no need to diminish another woman's light because she knows there is no shortage of brightness in the world. Her focus is on cultivating her own shine while encouraging others to do the same. In relationships, whether personal or professional, A strong woman doesn't engage in gossip, backhanded compliments, or passive-aggressive behavior. She refuses to belittle or sabotage others to make herself feel superior. Instead, she lifts people up by speaking kindly of them, offering support when needed, and leading by example. She understands that true power lies in kindness, and that uplifting others builds an environment where everyone can thrive. The power of uplifting others is not just about words, but about actions. A strong woman shows her support through her behavior. Whether it's giving credit where it's due, offering a helping hand, or simply being present when someone needs encouragement, she actively engages in building others up. She knows that by helping others rise, she creates a ripple effect that strengthens everyone in her community. In the face of adversity, a strong woman also knows the importance of uplifting herself. She refuses to stay in spaces that diminish her or make her feel small. She walks away from situations or people who undermine her potential, knowing that the energy spent in self, doubt or negativity could be better used in self, love and growth. By uplifting herself, she becomes a source of strength and encouragement for those around her. A woman who uplifts is also a woman who listens. She creates spaces where others feel heard, valued, and respected. Whether it's in a conversation, a team project, or a friendship, she ensures that everyone has a voice. She knows that everyone brings something valuable to the table, and that by recognizing and honoring those contributions, she fosters collaboration and mutual respect. Lastly, by uplifting others, a strong woman sets a powerful example for the next generation. She teaches the young girls and women around her that their worth is not defined by comparison, competition, or rivalry. She instills the belief that strength lies not in diminishing others, but in lifting each other up, and that true power is found in community and support, not isolation and competition. A strong woman understands that growth requires discomfort. She knows that true transformation does not come from staying in her comfort zone, but from stepping into the unknown and facing challenges head on. While comfort may feel good in the moment, it is growth that propels her forward in life, and she is not afraid to embrace the discomfort that comes with the journey. For her, growth is not optional. It's a necessary part of her evolution, and she welcomes the challenges that come with it. Comfort zones are safe, but they are also limiting. They keep us in familiar patterns and prevent us from reaching our full potential. A strong woman knows that in order to reach new heights, she must be willing to break free from the familiar and step into new, sometimes intimidating territories. She seeks out opportunities that stretch her abilities, that push her to grow in ways she never thought possible. She is not afraid of failure, because she understands that it is often through our failures that we learn our greatest lessons. For many, comfort represents security, and the idea of leaving it behind can be daunting. But a woman who chooses growth over comfort is not defined by fear. Instead of being paralyzed by uncertainty, she steps into it with courage and confidence. She understands that growth is often accompanied by uncertainty, and that this is precisely what makes it valuable. Every step outside her comfort zone is an investment in her future, and she is willing to take risks to see herself evolve. A strong woman also knows that growth is often messy. It doesn't always look neat and tidy. In fact, it can feel like chaos at times, but she embraces the process, knowing that the discomfort and messiness are part of the journey. She understands that growth requires effort, patience, and resilience. It is not always immediate or easy, but it is always worth it. Every challenge she faces helps her refine her character, strengthen her mindset, and sharpen her skills. Comfort may provide temporary satisfaction, but a strong woman knows that it doesn't lead to fulfillment. The satisfaction of staying in a comfortable, predictable routine quickly fades when she realizes that she's not challenging herself or growing. She doesn't settle for a life that feels stagnant. Instead, she seeks opportunities to learn, expand her knowledge, and discover new passions. She is always in pursuit of something greater, knowing that growth is what fuels her sense of purpose and fulfillment. Choosing growth over comfort doesn't just apply to external situations, it also involves internal growth. A strong woman is committed to her own personal development. She actively works on her emotional intelligence, her mindset, and her relationships. She doesn't shy away from confronting her flaws or weaknesses. Instead, she views them as areas of opportunity to evolve into a better version of herself. She takes responsibility for her growth, understanding that it is a lifelong process that requires continuous self-awareness and effort. A woman who chooses growth over comfort also faces fear head-on. It's easy to let fear dictate your actions and hold you back, but a strong woman is not ruled by fear. Instead of avoiding discomfort, she confronts it with the understanding that growth exists on the other side of fear. She recognizes that every moment of fear is a chance to rise above it and expand her capabilities. She refuses to let fear be a barrier to her success or happiness. Finally, a strong woman knows that growth is a constant process, not a destination. She understands that the journey of self-improvement is never complete, and she finds joy in the pursuit rather than focusing solely on the end goal. Whether she's facing a difficult situation, pursuing a new skill, or expanding her network, she embraces each moment as an opportunity for growth. She doesn't seek perfection, she seeks progress. The constant evolution of her mind, body, and spirit is what fuels her journey, and she is committed to that path for as long as she lives. A strong woman understands that respect is not something that is earned through performance or appearance. It is simply the baseline for any healthy relationship. Respect should be a given, not something that has to be constantly requested or negotiated. Whether in a personal relationship, a professional environment, or even casual interactions, a woman knows that respect is foundational. It is the basic requirement for any meaningful connection or partnership to exist and thrive. Respect doesn't come with conditions. It's not about whether someone agrees with you or shares the same opinions. A strong woman knows that respect is about treating others with dignity, recognizing their worth, and acknowledging their individuality. She understands that true respect goes beyond superficial gestures. It's about genuinely honoring people for who they are, regardless of their background, beliefs, or experiences. When a woman demands respect, she's not asking for special treatment. She's asserting her right to be treated as an equal, without bias, judgment, or mistreatment. Respect for her means that her thoughts, feelings, and boundaries are acknowledged and valued. She doesn't tolerate behavior that undermines her worth or makes her feel small. In her world, respect isn't optional, it's a non-negotiable standard. A strong woman does not settle for being treated disrespectfully, no matter the circumstances. If someone speaks to her in a condescending tone, disregards her opinion, or invades her personal space, she won't hesitate to stand up for herself. She has learned that allowing disrespect to go unchecked only invites more of it. Her ability to set boundaries and enforce them is a reflection of her self-respect. She knows that if she doesn't respect herself enough to demand respect from others, no one else will. Respect is not just about what others give to her, it's about how she extends respect to those around her. A strong woman treats others with kindness, empathy, and understanding. She knows that respect is a two-way street, and she leads by example. She listens when others speak, values their perspectives, and never dismisses anyone's feelings. Her ability to offer respect freely and without hesitation helps to create a culture of mutual understanding and kindness wherever she goes. It's easy for people to become complacent and take respect for granted, but a strong woman doesn't allow that to happen. She recognizes that respect should never be assumed or taken as a given in any relationship. She works actively to cultivate respect in her interactions, setting an example of how it's done and holding others accountable when respect is not reciprocated. She isn't afraid to call out disrespect even if it's uncomfortable. She knows that silence only allows disrespect to continue. Respect isn't only about how others treat her, it's also about how she treats herself. A strong woman holds herself to a high standard of respect in her actions, words, and self-care. She doesn't compromise her values or silence her voice in the face of conflict. She shows up for herself as strongly as she shows up for others. By demonstrating respect for herself, she teaches those around her how to do the same. Self-respect is the foundation that ensures she will not settle for less than she deserves. In professional settings, a woman who recognizes that respect is the bare minimum demands that her work, time, and expertise be acknowledged. She won't allow anyone to belittle her accomplishments or undermine her contributions. She knows her worth, and she carries herself with confidence, never letting others take advantage of her. In business, respect is not just about politeness, but about fairness, recognition, and equal opportunities. A strong woman won't tolerate anything less. Lastly, a strong woman knows that respect is not about being passive or overly accommodating. She will stand up for herself when necessary, and she's not afraid to say no when someone crosses a line. She believes that everyone, regardless of their gender, age, or status, deserves respect. She refuses to allow anyone to diminish her or treat her in a way that doesn't honor her humanity. For her, respect is the bare minimum, and anything less is simply unacceptable. You are not too much. You're just not for those who can't handle your strength. And to the world, stop mistaking a woman's self-respect for attitude, because what we carry isn't ego, it's excellence.